Hi, I'm Sam Sorbo. You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code Sam Sorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code Sam Sorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. Hi, this is Sam Sorbo. I want to invite you all to join me at the Playbook for Home Learning Conference put on by Underground Education. There's a new community that started online called the Underground Education Community. You can find it by going to samsorbo.com. You can also find all the information about the conference, about how to approach education with your kids. Times are hard for parents right now. There's a lot going on in the schools that we don't like. But I'll tell you something, home learning is easier than you ever thought it could be and more fun than you ever imagined. So join me at the Your Playbook for Home Learning Conference this June 24-25 in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're going to have a great time. Go to samsorbo.com for more information on everything. I'll see you there. Welcome back to the Sam Sorbo Show. I'm Sam Sorbo. I'm here with Pastor Rick Stevens. He is a co-founder of Florida Citizens Alliance. He's a pastor, diplomat, Wesleyan Church, and he's served churches as far west as Bartlesville, Oklahoma, the home of friends of mine, and as far east as New Brunswick, Canada. And so he's here to talk about this new directive that came down. There were a number of books for Florida's schools that were rejected by the Florida Department of Education. They went through, this is after DeSantis sort of instituted these new directives that we won't be teaching Common Core or BLM or critical race theory, whatever, in the books. And there were, I think, as many as 40 books that were simply rejected. And those are books that had already been sort of put on the docket for various schools, but the board came down and said, nope, those don't comply with the standards that we have set. And so Pastor Rick Stevens is here to talk to us about that because, of course, the left came out and has said, oh, the right is book burning. This is just what Nazis do. By the way, Nazis are leftists. They're socialists. That's why they're called the National Socialists, Nazi. But, you know, they keep changing words and mincing their words and making them sound like word salad. So Pastor Rick, why don't you walk us through a little bit of this whole book burning thing that's been happening?
Well, you're right to talk about it that way because it makes my head explode, because it simply is not about banning books or burning books or anything like that. When Governor DeSantis became governor, about a month into that, maybe not that long, I don't remember the exact timing, he issued an executive order to get rid of Common Core in Florida. And so that started a process of writing what we now call the BEST standards, benchmarks for excellence in student thinking. And so when the Department of Education puts out an opportunity for these publishers to supply materials, instructional materials for the schools, they have to make sure their materials are aligned with the new standards. That means they can't be Common Core compliant anymore. They have to be compliant with the best standards. So that's part of it. Then the other part of it, of course, was when the governor came out and said, we're not going to teach critical race theory in our schools. It's not going to happen. We're not going to have it in our materials. And so they took some very bold and proper positions on that. And that was all part of what the publishers had to meet. Those are the standards or the compliance measures, you might say, that they have to meet with their materials. So when they didn't meet that, why is anybody surprised that the Department of Education said, not so fast, we're not going to use these books?
I don't know that they're surprised, but they're annoyed because they really, really, really wanted to teach the kids that stuff. And so the question is, shouldn't we just teach children everything?
Well, of course we shouldn't, because we have to understand they're children. And it's part of our responsibility to make sure that we don't expose them to things that they're not ready for. And we need to protect their innocence and all of the rest of the things that goes with being a responsible adult. And truth be told, this has been going on for a long time in Florida. Back years ago, it's got to have been at least 8 years ago now, I sat in one of the offices of one of the top aides to the one of the influential members of the House Education Committee, and they were having trouble then getting the textbook publishers to respect Florida preferences. They all wanted to just write what they wrote for every state and expected every state to take whatever they gave them. And they were frustrated at that point. So I think the people of Florida.
By the way, sorry, I don't like to interrupt you, but I just want to insert here. The reason that they like to do that is because, first of all, it's less costly for them. If they have to redo textbooks in order to work in Florida, they're liable to just redo all of the textbooks and only offer those textbooks to the other states. And that's a big loss for the left that is incessantly trying to insert more agenda into textbooks. And actually, before we move on, do you know anything about how often they have to change their textbooks?
Well, Florida has a cycle, and it's every, I think, 3 years, maybe 4 years on some things.
But
And so
why?
they change them about every 4 years.
But why? The facts don't change. If the textbooks are factual, if the math books teach math, why did we ever get new math books?
Oh, I think that's exactly a fair question. I have a friend who was a math teacher for many years, and he learned over time what approaches to teaching math helped and what approaches didn't. And so he used the effective approaches. He was teaching in a private school, so he had that freedom. But like any other discipline in our country, people want to tinker with it and they want to so-called make improvements. And so that's
It's like
what they do. And of course, that's how they convince.
Right. And it's the salami tactic. But it's like if the government came out every 3 years and said, hey, your money's no good. We're going to remint all of the money. And with this time it's going to be blue, or this time it'll all be yellow, or what have you. Like, we'll keep it green, but the old ones just don't work anymore. It's absurd. The old ones work until there's a natural attrition where they become so used, like a book, that they need to be retired or thrown away in a sense. But I've long struggled with that. And by the way, they do burn the books. They are beholden to whatever authority to destroy the old books, which made no sense to me.
Well, that's right. And I think it's just the system that has developed, and it benefits the publishers more than the students, and it benefits the people that make money off of education far more than it helps students learn. And that's a little bit of a different road we could go down, but it's
Are
clear
you
to us
saying there might
that,
be corruption in the education system?
no, you would never hear me say that. In our county in Florida, we have a $1.9 billion budget. And I can't help but believe there are problems. There's just too much smoke around all of that. And education isn't always about helping the kids. Some people just get rich off of education. And you're right. Why not use the same things over and over? If they help students learn, let's keep using them. What about our original documents? Why not use the Declaration of Independence to teach our students instead of a book about the Declaration of Independence, for example?
Because
Some common sense things would go a
the
long
kids
way.
can't read cursive writing anymore. That's why.
Well, we can teach them. They're not
And
stupid.
we
They're
have
really
to dumb
smart.
it down because they don't understand proper English anymore, and they don't understand, punctuation. So rather than teach the kids to
Yeah.
understand, teach the kids to read properly, we'd rather dumb it down and sell you a new book.
Well, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It makes no sense. We are convinced that our children are smart and capable. We are concerned that our education system doesn't believe that anymore. And because they have been ineffective in too many ways, they keep changing the rules to make themselves look better. We want our kids to be better, not the system to look better.
Oh, that's just, you put that very well, Pastor Rick. What does Florida Citizens Alliance actually do?
Well, what we actually do is we advocate for K through 12 education reform in Florida. Now, we are active in doing that and we speak out about things. But one of the things that we have done from the very beginning is we always bring a solution to the problem. A lot of times people get upset about something. For example, Common Core, and we were working very hard on getting rid of Common Core. Well, we didn't just complain about Common Core, we brought solutions to the problems that cropped up with Common Core. And so we consistently do that. When we find a problem that gets in the way of helping students learn, we offer a solution. We don't always pretend, we never pretend that our solution is the perfect solution, but we always have a place to start. And then we're always willing to work to make it better because we don't want to be complainers. We want to be the people that provide the solutions to the problems.
All right. So what's next for all of these schools that have to go back to the, so walk me through the process, because the schools, they have to consider the books, they look at the books, they hire people to vet the books, the people approve of certain books, but then the DOE, the Department of Education, Florida's Department of Ed, comes and says, oh, by the way, those books that you were considering, no, those are off the list. Go back to the drawing board, start reconsidering what books you're going to use for school next year.
Well, they can start over, that's true, and then they can look at alternate choices because there are lots of choices out there. What seems to be happening and what the department is allowing to happen, and I think they're doing it in good faith, they're allowing the publishers to correct the problems because some of them are really egregious and it's not hard for them to go back and reframe the statements and make them right and leave out the racial overtones, the social emotional learning. And that's beginning to happen.
Oh, I disagree with that so vehemently. I so vehemently disagree with that strategy. I can't even tell you how aggravated I am to hear that that is one of the strategies.
That's what they're doing. The department is letting them make the correction. And
oh, okay, we need to fix that. We need to fix that. Here's the thing: if the babysitter hits your child,
yeah,
and you say, "Hey, you shouldn't hit the child," do you hire the babysitter again? No.
Well, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that hitting the child was wrong. Next time I will, I'll throw the child on the ground instead. Like, no, because now they have an opportunity to put whatever other crap they want in the book.
Well, that's exactly right. There's that concern. And I think you're exactly right to say, why don't they just tell them no? Because the next time they'll come to the table with a more honest product. Because
they don't know how to negotiate. Exactly. They don't know how to negotiate. What they're doing is they're allowing, this is absurd. This is actually worse than losing.
Yeah.
No, right? It's worse than losing because now they have the opportunity and the DOE is going to say, oh, but we're going to review them again. No.
They're going to say that.
The punishment has to be swift There have to be consequences. And the consequence of, oh, you know what, you have to go change these things is not enough to make the point.
Well, right, because we'll go through this again with a
That's
different
right.
subject area. And
That's
what's
right.
happening is school boards are waiting for the DOE to get the books improved or corrected or whatever they're hoping for. And then they're going to continue the process with those books. They're not going to start with a different approach, with a different supplier, none of that stuff. And you're right. If the department would just tell them, no, they're rejected, that's the end of it, every publisher going forward would be much more careful with what they submit because millions of dollars are at stake. And
That's
that would
right.
be a huge lesson learned.
That's
Absolutely.
right. What the DOE does not understand is they have the leverage to get this done properly. And what they're doing is it's almost like they're doing something to appease good parents and then completely undermining their efforts. And frankly, as somebody who is terribly suspicious, I look at that and I say, okay, so that's just a fake. That's a fake for the parents of Florida. That is not proper. That is not the way you fight for the parents of Florida. I'm very disappointed to hear that.
Well, that is what's happening. And they've already announced that some of the books have been edited to come up to meet their expectations. So I can't give you any better news that it's going to be fixed better than that. The only upside
I
of
don't
that
know if
is,
I'm ever going to have you back on again because this is very bad and I have to take it out on the messenger.
yeah, well, go ahead. I can stand it. The only good part of that, and I'm not pretending that it's the solution. At least finally, the Department of Education is paying attention to this stuff, and we haven't seen that before. And you're right; they could send a much stronger message. I don't know why they didn't, but they didn't.
How do you get on the Department of Education in Florida? Is it appointed or do you have to run?
The State Board of Education is an appointed position, and so you could get on that. We're not on any of those official committees, but we try to have influence through the commissioner and through other contacts we have in the department.
Yeah, we
But
need to get you appointed.
well, and maybe you too, although I'm not sure we could stand it
I
actually.
don't play well with others.
Well, that's probably what we need actually, is someone who would just go in and spell it out and say, here's how it is, because it just is kind of a nightmare to think that we won't take a specific and courageous position and get it done with. One time would solve the problem to a
One time
large
would solve
extent.
the problem. It would put everybody on notice. These are the
Yes,
standards, abide by the standards or don't come to play. That's it. Those are the
right.
rules.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we're bending over backwards to be nice to these people unless somebody's got some money involved at some level of the game. And I'm not like casting aspersions. I'm just saying there has to
Yeah.
be a simple logical explanation. Occam's razor, and that's the only one that jumps to my mind. I don't
Well,
know
it does
why
cause you
we're
to ask those questions.
what's that?
Yeah. And I don't know the answer either, but it does cause you to ask those questions.
It certainly
And
does.
it does remind us that if Florida would do something like you're describing, then that would have shockwaves across the nation, because then maybe other states would stand up and do the same thing, and we could get real improvement in our instructional materials.
That's true. And if they did it properly, then the books might get better for the other states as opposed to
Sure.
them patchworking some minor improve. Like, I can just picture the books that they basically just took a Sharpie over some of the words and then resubmitted the books, and some jerk somewhere is going, yeah, this works. They took out that bad word or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm getting very cynical. Now it's all right. We've had our fun. Pastor Rick Stevens, how can people support Florida Citizens Alliance and send you a note that we want you to go fight harder?
Well, we have a website, of course, everybody does. It's goflca.org, goflca.org, and they can sign up to get our action alerts and other information. There's a lot of things there on the website that talk about Florida schools and give people some idea of what we're doing. And if they'd like to send a donation, they can send a donation through that website. We can always appreciate that. We are a nonprofit organization, and we work real hard to raise every dollar, and we work very carefully to spend them in the best way to make the most good happen. So
I
anything
know
like
you
that, we'd be
do.
glad to have people a part
I've
of
been
that.
I've been watching you guys for quite a while, and I really appreciate all your efforts. Thanks so much for talking to us today. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. All of the information will appear in the show notes, so don't forget to take a look at that. Also, don't forget to subscribe where you get your podcasts and listen to the show on podcast if you're watching on video. If you're on YouTube, there's always Rumble. I'm just saying. And our locals channel, sorbos.locals.com. And don't forget to check out the conference that's coming up in June 24 and 25, up in the beautiful city of Port St. Lucie, Florida. We're going to have a great time talking about education and changing the way you think about education to help you with your kids, with and really with life in general, because the way we think about education informs everything that we do. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sam Sorbo.